Welcome, fam, to the week 5 of the 2024 season in the FFFL recap. And I have Louie here with me today, not Colleen, even though that's what it says underneath you. How are you doing, sir?
Good, brother. How are you?
I am doing well. You got nice teeth. I'm just noticing that. You got a nice set of teethers there.
What the hell, Greg?
Yeah, you have veneers? You use veneers? You
No.
like Rex
Hey,
Ryan?
I do have one thing to say first, though.
Okay.
I gotta apologize to Zach because I gave him a bunch of shit about changing his lineup. In hindsight, he should have left it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're apologizing to yourself then is what it sounds like. Because yeah, you hurt yourself in that one. You definitely beat you there. But but I appreciate it. Now all is clean and clear and your conscience feels better about itself, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm glad you cleared your conscience now. But Louis, thank you for joining me on this edition of the FFFL recap. Like I said, we are going through week 5. So what I'm going to do, like I always do, Louis, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and make sure the sound is on so we can hear Dr. Sam when he comes up. As you all know, we want to hear him. Oh, there we go. All right. So the week 5 recap, what we always do is we're going to go through last week, touch on a couple ass whoopings that may have occurred, and then the rest of the games. I'm going to say we technically didn't have any nail biters, but there was at least one game where, maybe kind of felt like that at one point, but ultimately, score wise, nothing was that close, or at least things potentially were determined before all the games were done. Then we'll go through the injury report with Dr. Sam. He'll help us out with maybe some injuries that just occurred, as well as some people that might be coming back. Then we'll do waiver wire what to do. So we'll talk about who is out there on the waiver wire. Maybe you need somebody for a bye week. Maybe you need somebody for an injury. Then we'll hit Trade Central. We did have a trade, Louis, go through. So Trade Central can be full. So that's good. And we'll talk about that.
All right.
Javante or Godwin. Hey, 2 weeks in a row, Javante making some ground. So we'll touch on that too. Then we'll get to the comment of the week. And last but not least, we'll talk about what's coming up with this next week. Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll, brother.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, Louis, and I've already cued you in on this, but I'm letting the crowd know we are going to try to focus on keeping these things shorter. An hour and a half is a long time to go. Trust me, for the people on the call as well as for you all to listen to. So we're going to try to focus on each time we're doing a matchup. Each one of us is going to highlight one thing. So we're going to just highlight one item that we think could be a differentiator in the matchup. So Louis, I need you to try to hold me back from talking a bunch. Okay.
You roll, man. You roll.
All right. Sounds good. So let's get into that first one. So this is the first ass whooping of the week, and I laid an ass whooping onto Zach by 33 points, which was nice because it was a divisional matchup between the top two at the time team. So I felt like I really needed that win because that puts me 2 games ahead of everybody else, which is helpful. And so it meant a lot. Anything that you saw in this matchup, or what's your one highlight as to why I was able to put an ass whooping on him?
A lot of the good players just aren't putting up points right now. They have a good week, they have an off week. And I
Yeah,
think that's all across the board,
yeah.
really.
'Cause Josh Allen, didn't do as well in 2 weeks in a row now that Josh Allen has not been up to par. So that could be kind of what you're talking about there is
Yeah.
that. And I agree. And on my side, the only thing I'll highlight is Brian Thomas Jr., that guy, that what a rookie he has been so far for the Jaguars. He's definitely their number one target, and he's been a guy who was able to get near the bottom half part of the draft that has really helped out my team in a lot of multiple spots now so far. So he'll make it difficult to make those decisions moving forward. But but yes, it was a nice butt whooping. So give me some separation there in our division, Louis. But that wasn't the only ass whooping that happened this week, Louis. you delivered an ass whooping to your son. So this might have taken you and Kyle back, 20 years on some spankings because that's what happened this go round. How did you do it? What helped give him that ass whooping this week?
Lamar Jackson and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't need him, he still come through big.
Yeah, I highlighted Lamar Jackson as well. I mean, that man is playing out of his mind. Had a great looking game. I mean, he made one of the greatest plays you've seen in a long time in that game too, where that was one where I think he bobbled the snap or it was a bad snap, and then he had to like recover that, get through the pocket somehow. He maneuvers out to the sideline and then finds somebody deep. Man, I mean, it was such
Yeah.
a great play and a play that only Lamar Jackson can kind of make. On Kyle's side, it was his receivers in that London game. I'll say this, Louis. Let me ask you this question: like, how do you feel about playing players in that game specifically? No matter who's playing, like, what's your comfort level playing? Putting in your fantasy lineup these guys that are playing in London in that weird, 8:30 in the morning for us. I know it's not that for them, but what's your
There's got to
thought?
be some fatigue there. You know that. And uh, I don't, honestly, I don't think they're 100%.
Yeah, and it seems like that. It just feels that way with any of those games that happen. They're always kind of ugly. They never it's just for me, I always just get kind of weird. Now, I'll never tell you to bench Justin Jefferson, right? You're not going to do that even if he's in London, but I would agree. I think maybe it's more when you have players in that game, you maybe look to put some more volatile players in your lineup that are boom bust kind of guys, knowing
Yep.
my stalwarts that are always there may not perform like they should, and therefore I need some more boom in my lineup this week because they're going to be in London, and I'm not benching Justin Jefferson just because he's over with Big Ben. Can't do that. So
That's a tough one.
yeah, I just always had this thought, and it just feels like it does roll that way because they don't. If I'm not mistaken, they don't go there right away because I think that's one of the problems in my head is I feel like they should fly there on like Tuesday. Get there early, get yourself kind of in the time zone of where you're at. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they go there on like Thursday or Friday. And so they're
Yeah.
still kind of in that jet lag mode.
I think
So
so.
yeah, kind of odd. But you laid a butt whooping on your son. So guess who has bragging rights at Thanksgiving? Guess who gets the wishbone every time?
Guess who's next?
I know. Oh, I know. We'll get to that. Oh man. But next up for us, just outside the parameters of an ass whooping, because it's only by 28 points, is EJ whooping up on Tyler by 28 points in their matchup. EJ had almost 120 points, whereas Tyler broke just over 90. What's one thing you took from this matchup as to why it happened how it did? Hold on, Louis. Yeah. Oh, do you remember Louis?
Hi,
Yeah.
girl. How are
Hi.
you?
Good.
Good.
People.
I did TiVo today.
Oh, do you like it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she hit the ball like really well.
Cool.
Like crushed it to the outfield, I think twice.
Wow. Way
And
to
yeah,
go.
In the grass.
yeah, yeah. I know most of the kids are like all the kids kind of line up, we'll say around the baselines. Think about the baselines, that's a lot of times where
Yeah.
all the kids are at. And we got a lot of good hitters. Like we've kind of taught them pretty well, and they crush it past these kids. Like they just
Nice.
hit it hard, and she's one of the hardest hitters, and she's
There
doing
you
really well
go.
and loving it. Right? Yeah,
Well, have fun with it.
I will.
yeah. We got one
Good.
more game, right? Saturday. Yeah. Can you say bye to Louie?
Bye, Louie.
Bye bye, girl.
Thank you for coming in. Love you. Can I get a kiss? Have a good night. Okay. Yeah, it's been sorry to distract, but she's got to make her
No.
appearance, as you know. she's got to make that appearance. And but no, it's been a lot of fun to coach them, and she's loving it because she's getting good at it. And I've noticed that when the kids start to make plays and they get a ground ball or they catch it or they hit it really hard, like in t-ball, it's a tougher sport to get kids act because they got to stand around a lot. So
Oh
it's a
yeah,
boring it's
yeah.
a boring sport in that regard. But when they're starting to do it, like she was hating it in the summer at one point. She's like, "This is boring. I don't like it." But then she made a play at first base where a kid threw a one hopper and she caught it. And like that moment on, man, it's like boom. She's like, "Oh my God!" And then she just started
The
loving
light,
it.
come on.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. So that was cool. But sorry to distract. So we
No,
got
no, no. That's cool.
yeah, I love it. But yeah, what did you think was a deciding factor in this matchup?
Man, I tell you what, Tyler's team just didn't put up points. And
He
he's
got the
got good
players
players on there.
right. I know.
It's just like it was down.
Well, Brees Hall played in that London game, right?
Yes.
Brees Hall gets you only 7, and he's a guy that you're looking at. He's projected for 10 more points than that.
Well, you would think that he'd be in the low 20s at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that hurts. My highlight for him is Brock Bowers. What a player. And without Devontae Adams in Las Vegas, Brock Bowers is the center of that offense, and they can do so much with him. And he can be in the backfield, he can line up out wide, he can line up on the line. I mean, he is just one of the most versatile tight ends we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And what an exciting player to have. So big ups to EJ. I remember when he drafted Brock Bowers, he fist pumped. Like he was so like on it. And for me, because he's a rookie, I was just like, all right, like I think he's gonna be good, but not this year. I kind of thought not that. But man, EJ was pumped when he got him, and he should be pumped now. He's the number one tight end in our league.
Yes, he is.
So nice job, EJ. Nice victory. Tyler, that's a tough, and I agree. Just didn't get the points. It was tough, but defense played well. That Denver defense, that's going to be a tough defense for people to play. So I'm liking them. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Andy versus Sam. So Andy already changed his team name, but Sam beat him, but not by a whole lot. I mean, it was still a close matchup. It was 13-ish points that Sam won by. Anything that you'd highlight from this one as to maybe what leaned one way or the other?
You know, what happened to Debo Samuel? I mean, what the hell?
Uh, it's one of my notes. I'll say that I've written 2 notes for each game, and one of them is what you just said.
I
He
mean,
might
I
be still
don't,
hurt. I don't know. Coming off that injury. This is the second week off the injury. I don't know. So maybe that's it. That's all I
uh,
can think of.
yeah.
But with that offense too, it's always weird with the San Francisco offense. They have a great offense. However, like, and I know that that's because they can't, but it's like they never have a time where Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, and the running back all have a decent game. It's like one of them is going to be left out. And this week, Kittle had a good game, Ayuk had a good game. So then Debo doesn't get a good game. But to me, that means next week maybe Debo has it, Kittle doesn't. It's like kind of rolling the dice on that. On mine, Joe Burrow went off this week
Yeah, he
against the
did.
Ravens in an overtime game too. I mean, that's what sets it apart. I mean, other than okay, he had DJ Moore had a great game, and James Conner did well, but really everyone else. I mean, Devon Achane goes out with a concussion. It's only 2.8 point. I mean, so if Burrow doesn't just go nuts, I think that's the highest point total of anybody in any player yet in the league
Yeah, yeah, it is.
for a week. And even you had Lamar Jackson who had 42, 43 in that same game, right?
Yeah.
So it was a high scoring game, but Joe Burrow's what set it apart for Sam, and that since the offense is starting to crank a little bit, so they're starting to rev up a little bit. All right. Next up, we have beat the Swifty. So it was Bob who ended up losing by again about 13-ish points, 13 and a half to Case's Aces, who's now 4-1 also. Excuse me. Anything you saw as a separator in this matchup?
Man, where did Daniels come from?
Oh my gosh, this guy. I love him.
Huh?
I love him.
I would have never figured that.
Me neither. I mean, he was number two, like drafted, but you're right. He kind of thought he might be a little bit of a project in some way.
And going to Washington?
Right. That's the surprising part.
No
Washington.
kidding.
They I think they have what they were saying fantasy wide, like they have like the number one offense or number two offense in the league right now in general, I think,
They're
with how
going to
they're
be
scoring.
powerful the next couple years, I think.
Yeah. I When's the last time they didn't score 30? Like I'm like I'm thinking about it as I
Yeah,
go through it. Like, yeah, when was the last time that they didn't score 30? And that's a lot of points to score in the NFL. And they've done it every week, man. And
so
even
yeah,
their
they're going to be tough.
and it was 34-13. So not even like their defense. Cleveland sucks. I hate Cleveland, but I mean, but it's not like their defense is always giving up a whole lot of points, and then they
Yeah.
have to keep up. Like they're even winning like by 2, 3 scores. So yeah, Jaden Daniels, that's a nice player to have right now.
Yeah, it is.
He also had Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase was a separator. I mean, he was in that same Cincinnati Baltimore Ravens game. And so, he had a huge one this week as well, 39 points. I mean, some big scores this week. It was
Yeah,
a
it is.
very, very boom bust week all around, as you had mentioned, of like some of these top players aren't scoring. And I know we are only going to highlight one thing each, but I just want to highlight for Bob Mooney. I mean, I like Mooney a lot in that offense, and it looks like, and Kirk Cousins wanted Mooney. Like he actually requested Mooney to be on that team, and that's why they went and got him. Knowing that, that's why I ended up adding Mooney to a lot of other teams that I have because Cousins asked for him specifically. And when a quarterback asks for a guy, he's going to target that guy.
Yeah, you know where the ball's going to go.
Yeah. So that went very well. And London's doing well there too. So it's not like he's disregarding London, but Mooney is I think a better wide receiver than he gets credit for because he was playing for the Bears during a time when the offenses was not great and was not moving it well, but he's a good wide receiver. But nice job, Casey. Going to 4-1. He's won 4 in a row now, man. All right, last but not least, and the previous one I was going to call a nail biter because Bob needed some things to go his way, but Rico Dowdle had himself a good game and therefore just separated in that game. But this was the other one that would be considered. It was the closest matchup, but not really a nail biter because it was done, I believe, before Sunday night or by Sunday night, something like that. Um, but very low scoring affair between Allison and Glenn. Uh, Anything that you're noting from this matchup as a positive or maybe a negative?
You know what? I look at Allison's team and she has some players that can play.
Yeah.
And that for the life there shouldn't be 75 points. There should be
Oh.
at least over 100.
Yeah. One of the notes I made, her two wide receivers combined for 7 points.
Yeah.
Tough to win but so did his. Never mind. Her two outscored his. I didn't even notice that till now. Olave and Harrison, they got 6.6. This is what keeps it low scoring. But
Let
he
me
did pick
ask
up.
you about Marvin Harris Jr.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought
Well,
about going after him hard because I thought him being with Murray would be a big deal, but it just hasn't been yet.
so I have that duo in my other like big league. I have that exact duo, and I will say where you had to draft Marvin Harrison in the draft, I did not like it, and I only did it for fandom. His father was one of my favorite Colts of all time, and so I kind of and I knew the pedigree. I knew that he was the top wide receiver coming out, even though Neighbors to me looks like it. But Harrison was touted as that, and so I just did it. But you had to draft him like high second round. Like he was going in like a top 15 pick, and that's the highest any rookie wide receiver has ever gone in fantasy football as far as average draft position. So yes, I have it another. What I'll say is it has worked out when he's scoring touchdowns. If he is not getting, he has no more. He doesn't have more than 5 receptions in a game. He's getting targets, but he's not getting the receptions. So I think they're just not on the same page yet.
Yeah.
And so you're hoping that chemistry just kind of melds together here by the end because he had a down week, but the prior 3 weeks, he was in double digit. He was like 15, 15, and then he had that huge week where he went off for like 30. So what hasn't been all bad, but his bookends have been bad. Week 1 was rough, week 5 was rough, but when he's scoring touchdowns with them and they're connecting on those long passes, that's when it's been good because his average I want to say his average depth of either I think his average depth of target is like 16 yards. Like that's a really high average depth of target. That's a more analytical number, but ultimately what that means is yeah, how far down the field is this person getting the ball thrown to them?
Yeah.
And being basically 16 yards on the field, I'd say you want guys that are over 10. That's what you're looking for. But I'd say on average, a good receiver is probably in that 11, 12 range, usually. And so when you have an average depth of target that's also too far, you're going to be boom bust, right? As you know, it's a lot easier to throw the ball 5 yards and connect with a guy than it is to try to throw it 30 or 40 to connect with the
Yeah.
guy. So that's kind of where that goes too. So we'll see how they're going to mix them in, but yeah, it was a good showing, and I like that. Last note, I like that Glenn picked up Tucker Kraft. I think he is the tight end in Green Bay. They were going to him last year at the end of the year, and this year the only reason I didn't pick him up was because he had a pectoral injury, like that was actually held him out of preseason. I thought that would really hamper him, but man, he has taken over that tight end room. They're not even looking to Musgrave. They could care less about Musgrave right now as long as Tucker Kraft is healthy and he looks good out there. So I'm really liking him a lot. Okay, Louis, that wraps up week 5. So congrats to those who got the W. For those who didn't, I'm real sorry. And Allison, one day you'll have a 1 in that left column. I promise you it'll happen. Bob says it's going to happen for you this week, so maybe it will since you're playing him. But we do have our week 5 sponsor break because Dr. Sam, he's got to get sponsored. He's got to get paid, Louis.
Right on, right on.
So I'm trying, man. I'm trying real hard to get Dr. Sam paid. And this week was a easier sponsor, I will admit, because it's kind of connected. But this week it's the FFLGA, the Family Fantasy Football League Golf Association. And it is an upper echelon tier of the middle of the lower level of golf talent and is a proud offshoot of the ever growing FFFL 12 people know and love. Though the FFLGA never plays golf together ever since the cookie incident of 2016, it still provides excellent instruction on the finer points of golf. Bob can show you how to wash your balls properly. Sam focuses on how to grip your shaft securely, but with a soft touch. EJ is the best at keeping your strokes to a minimum, and Andy demonstrates how to keep it down the middle no matter what condition you're in. So if you're looking to understand the details of golf better, swing on by one of our many FFFLGA locations for a tour. All right. Well, that was a wonderful sponsor, and I think Dr. Sam's gonna be happy with that one. It just seems like it's right up his alley. So there you go, the FFLGA. We appreciate them as a good sponsor, and now we're gonna hear about some injuries from Dr. Sam.
All right, week 5 injury report here. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Jets, looks like he sprained his ankle, likely to probably be playing. Low mobility, but doesn't really have much mobility as he's recovering from the Achilles anyways. Derek Carr, quarterback for the Saints, left the game late in the fourth quarter with potential for an oblique strain/rib injury. He'll be undergoing MRI today, but if it is something like the ribs, deep ball will probably be affected for a little bit. Devon Achane, running back for Miami, had a concussion. Likely will be good coming back because they have a bye next week. Aaron Jones, running back for the Vikings, undisclosed what he has currently. Looks like a hip, maybe a glute or a hamstring. They do have a bye week, but it could potentially be a 2 to 3 week type injury. Nico Collins, wide receiver for the Texans, is doubtful with the hamstring injury for week 6. Will likely be at least a 2 to 3 week type injury with a high injury reaggravation rate. David Njoku, tight end for the Browns, had an undisclosed knee injury. I think he did have an MRI, but they did not release the information. He's just coming back from the ankle, so probably going to be pretty limited moving forward. And then Zach Moss, running back for the Bengals. Looks like it was type of low ankle sprain, so we'll have to check practice for this week to see if he is looking to play. Will Levis and Justin Herbert look like they should be ramping back up in the next few weeks to being 100% shortly. Nick Chubb is a potential for a week 7 return. Rashee Rice is likely done for the season. I think they put him on IR in order to get the scope done. But if there's any type of ligament damage, they're going to repair it. He'll be out for about 6 months. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are likely to be returning following the bye week. Cooper Kupp looks like he should be coming back probably week 7, week 8. Anthony Richardson looks like he should be back for week 6.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sam. We appreciate that insight. There's a few injuries out there going on, a lot of stuff. And for some of you, it may be okay because that player also went on bye, like with Aaron Jones or Devon
Yeah.
Achane. But for others, you're going to have to figure out what are you going to do, including myself with a little Nico Collins. I don't like hearing that, Louie. Anywho, you got to do what you got to do, right? So
That's right.
now we're hitting the waiver wire. So you might have a bye week, and therefore you need to pick up one of these players, or Dr. Sam just let you know of an injury that you maybe weren't even aware of, like myself with certain people. but now I know, so now I might have to make some adjustments. But we'll start like we always do with the quarterbacks. There have been a couple quarterback changes that have happened, one in Vegas and one in New England. So we got some new guys up there. But anybody on this list that you might want to add to your team, Louie? Or
No.
I shouldn't say your team, but maybe to a team that's in need of one of
I've always been an Andy Dalton fan, but he just
them.
no.
No, well, they played the Bears. That's a tough team to play, but he looked good before that. Like the week before, he looked good, I think. Was that, I don't know if that was his second game or his third game, but the Bears are a tough defense. Louis, the Red Rifle, maybe he got a little too hot and he had to cool
Yeah,
off.
well. No.
You're not having it. Not having it. All right, where are you at? There you are. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I here's what I'll say. You're not gonna like this. Well, you might, but you're a Cowboy fan. Daniel Jones has actually looked good the last few weeks. He's not doing too bad, and especially even without Malik Neighbors, he did well. Would you add Daniel Jones if you're maybe like somebody who doesn't have a quarterback this week?
I wouldn't because he's so unpredictable.
That's true. He is very
I
unpredictable.
mean, it would be my luck. I would take him and he'd have 5 points.
He is playing Cincinnati, so I throw that out because they don't have a great defense. They do have a good offense, so it could be a high scoring affair. So that's why I throw him out. These other guys, I don't. I don't. I mean, Will Levis is probably hurt, so he's probably not going to play anyways. But do you ever want to play that man? Probably not.
No.
Bo Nix against the Chargers. Chargers are good defense. I probably don't want to play Bo Nix. Your Red Rifle, Atlanta's not great. He might be all right, but I'd say Daniel Jones or the Red Rifle. But you got to be kind of desperate. But Daniel Jones is projected for 22.9, and I know at least one team that's going to need it, and we'll talk about them, but they're going to need to pick up a quarterback. So they got to make some decisions here, Louis, and it might just have to be Daniel Jones this
Yeah, you're
week.
probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah. sad to see Justin Herbert, at that low. You know what I mean? But
You
it
know
is what
what? I've
their
kind of
offense.
always liked him.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. But
Matter of fact, I think I might have had him last year.
yeah, and I think Allison had him one year. I like him as a talent. It's just even last year, his receivers kept getting injured on him, right? So he doesn't really have people to throw to. This is not
Yeah.
going to be a good matchup because Denver has a great defense. Patrick Surtain's going to shut down at least your number one wide receiver, and they run the ball a lot more. So that's the tough part for him. But yeah, I do like the kid, and I hope he's getting healthier because he's always seems to be injured too, man. That's the other tough part. Well, let's move on to running back. So maybe you don't need a quarterback, but maybe you need a running back. Good fucking luck because this is what you got here on the waivers.
Yes.
Is there anyone that you would pick up?
You know what? I took Foreman for a little bit because I thought he would make an impact,
Yeah,
and I got rid of him.
yeah. I
He didn't, he didn't do it.
Who is Hunter Lepke? Who is this kid for Dallas? What he's on here now? So what's up with that, Louis?
I think he's a tough runner.
Yeah, okay. So you think he's taking the Zeke role?
You know what? I think he's not doing it either.
No, Zeke isn't doing it. Dowdle had his best game this past game, so
But this Hunter, he's a tough runner.
okay.
You know what? I don't think you can put anybody above what Kansas City's got as far as tough runners.
Yeah.
I think that must just be a thing there. If you go there, you better run as hard back to the huddle as you did going out of bounds. So,
No kidding. You got Pacheco and then Steele and then Kareem Hunt. You got all these
man,
guys that are just running hard. And it actually was fun to watch Kareem Hunt run yesterday, I will say. I'm not a fan of him because of his unfortunate domestic violence issues, but either way, like as far as on the field, he's fine. He runs hard.
you know
So
what? I guess I didn't follow him that much, and I had him a couple times before when he was at
yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
And you're right. I'm not in for what he
No, I
did.
know that. This is football. I get it, but that's I
But
just I just throw it out there.
Pacheco, and I got Pacheco. I don't know. I think it might be in this. No, it ain't in this one.
No, it's in
It's
the
in
other league
the
because Allison has him in this one.
yeah. And him getting hurt was
Oh, major
unfortunate.
letdown. Because he's a fun one to watch, man. You
Oh
just like to
geez.
just give the ball and watch him go. That man just goes. But yeah,
It
I don't.
must be the guy with the dreads, huh?
Yeah, it must. That's true. Well, the top, I think five players here have dreads on
Yeah.
this, but I don't like anybody here. I'll be
No.
honest. Denver's a tough defense. Even Gus Edwards, who might get the most opportunities here. Nah, I don't want to go against Denver. Tampa Bay actually has a good run defense when Vita Vea's in there. Houston, what I will say is Dario Gumboale, I mean, he got he got touches, but if Dameon Pierce is back, maybe he doesn't. Joe Mixon looks like he's gonna be out again. Like I don't know what's going on with that man. But yeah, a lot of stuff on here that I don't like. It might just be getting your backup maybe this week if you can. But if you're hurting at running back and you need one, make a trade because waiver
Yep.
wire ain't gonna do it for you this week. I'll just be honest. It's getting real thin now as we enter week 6. Really rough. Well, let's stop talking about that garbage stuff there. And we'll get on to the waiver wire wide receivers. Anybody amongst this list that you might take a stab at?
Tolbert.
Yeah, I actually agree. I'd go for Tolbert.
It seems to me that him and Dak are getting some kind of chemistry because Dak and Lamb don't have it.
Right.
I think
Not
there's
right
too
now.
much finger pointing going on there.
Yep.
And
I
I
would
just
agree.
and I have Lamb and he just
Yeah, it's getting bad vibes there the last couple of weeks in Dallas, and they obviously, like most teams, take a little bit to rev up because they don't do preseason anymore and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a tough one. And I mean, Tolbert's looked good, and you got Brandon Cooks is on IR, so he'll be out
Yeah.
for another few weeks. So I think Tolbert is the number one guy I'd go for. I don't like the vibes from the Dobbs thing going on.
No.
But if he played this week, I mean, Arizona's a good matchup for wide receiver, so you like it. But I like this Trey Tucker kid. I think he's a boom bust guy for Vegas. But once Devontae Adams is out, they're looking for guys to target, and he'll be their down the field guy. He's kind of their burner. Like I said, boom bust, but another good one to have. If looking for more steadiness, Ray McLeod, the slot receiver for Atlanta, he's getting a lot of looks as well. I've mentioned that Atlanta offense is starting to kind of come to life a little bit in the passing game, so that might be another one to look at.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with you. I think Tolbert's the number one guy. After that, take your shots, take your picks. Even a
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman for Baltimore might be good this week because he's playing against the Washington Commanders. So that
Yes.
and and Lamar Jackson's looking good. So maybe even a Rashad Bateman, he's their deep threat. That could be a good guy to pick up.
Yeah.
So a few of these boom bust players, but I'm with you, Louis. Tolbert's the man if you're looking for a wide receiver this week. All right. Lastly, we always do the tight ends. Um, Andy's favorite player at the very top, Taysom Hill. He's at the very top of Andy's list. He's at the very top of this list. Would he be a guy that you'd look for if healthy?
I'm kind of looking for a tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get a tight end slash running back slash wide receiver slash quarterback in Taysom Hill. You get it
You
all,
know
man.
what? I've always been a Conklin fan. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
why,
yeah. Conklin,
but I
isn't he?
have been.
He gets targets, man. He gets the ball thrown to
Yes.
him.
So I had I had the Cleveland one a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and he was so up and down.
Yep.
But I need to pick one up here, and yeah,
You got a few options. I like even Kate Otten. I think he's going under the radar as a guy in that Tampa Bay offense that's getting looks too. He's actually been pretty consistent.
yeah,
But I'm with you. I like Tyler Conklin. And on your end, if Taysom Hill is healthy, I just think he needs to be in a starting lineup somewhere. And it's always weird that he's always around this because no one seems to trust him. He's got this boom bust feature to him, you think. But dude, they're get outside of Alvin Kamara, they don't have another running back. They're giving this man the ball at the goal line. They're giving this man the ball, and they trust him in the big time opportunity plays. And it's never in the tight end way that he gets points. It's always in the weird run the ball. Maybe you might catch passes. You might throw it. He'll run that wildcat, right? He does the wildcat. I
he's a
always
tough
want.
player.
Oh my gosh, I love him as a. That's why I don't. That's why like for Andy to hate him so much. To me, I'm like, man, you gotta kind of love a guy like that. That he's
Yeah,
just this
yeah.
big burly dude, um,
He keeps coming back every year.
and I think he's like 33 years old. He's like 33 now. Like he's getting up there in age, but man, he keeps doing it. That's probably why he's always questionable. Just like all of them. He's questionable because he's up there in age. But good options here. I really do think this week you have some good options at tight end if you're looking for them to fill yourself in with a buy.
Yeah,
So Louis, you got some guys to think about on it. All right. Trade Central, we had a trade this week, Louis.
I saw
And
that.
yeah, so it was amongst Zach and Casey. So Zach gets Devontae Adams and Jordan Mason, while Casey gets Justice Hill and Terry McLaurin. Um, on one side, you get Casey gets Terry McLaurin to tie with Jaden Daniels, so he's trying to maybe get that stack and get his quarterback the wide receiver and see if he can double up on some points every once in a while on some of these touchdowns. So I think it's what he's doing there. But he gives away Jordan Mason and Devontae Adams, who, while up in the air, is still a really good wide receiver, and he's just not playing right now because they're finding a trade partner. What do you think of the trade? Where do you find the value?
I had Devontae Adams last year, I think, and I don't know. To be honest with you, I think Casey probably got the best deal.
Okay.
because I don't think Devontae Adams is going to do much more this year. If he
Yeah, well,
goes someplace else, he's got to learn a new offense. He's got to get in tune with the quarterback, even though he wasn't in tune with the quarterback at Vegas. I don't know.
yeah. And that's what Zach's trying to take that risk to see. It seems like he's going to be going somewhere. We don't know where, but obviously he's sitting out for that exact reason of they're trying to find a trade partner. Kansas City, it seemed to have offered the best, made the best offer so far, but they like have this weird thing where they don't want to trade within their division because Kansas City's in their division. I look at it as if you're Las Vegas, are you really winning your division this year? Because Devonte Adams isn't like going to be a strong piece for years to come. He's getting older. His numbers have gone down year after year the past 4 or 5 years. He's still really good, so I don't want to take that away from him. He's still a really good wide receiver, but he's going down. So, if Zach's obviously taking on the risk of at some point he thinks he's going to get traded to hopefully a better situation. Zach also gets Jordan Mason, who had a down week, but had been performing well with San Francisco. And any San Francisco running back who's starting is going to be valuable for the most part. But it could be an expiring asset if CMC comes back here in 3 or 4 weeks. So that could just be an expiring asset for Zach. So he's taking on some of that risk there. Whereas Casey, like I said, is getting McLaurin to pair with. First off, he didn't need Devontae was on Casey's bench, probably for a reason, but Casey has a lot of weapons in the receiving game. So I think he wants to get McLaurin to stack with Daniels. And then Justice Hill, believe it or not, is actually not a bad player and not a bad player in that Baltimore offense either. He's getting touches while Derrick Henry obviously is going to be the lead back in that offense. Justice Hill still gets touches, and if they're ever behind, he's the guy getting the pass catching work too. So not a bad deal overall. I think what stands out is the big name of Devontae Adams, but he's not playing anywhere right now. So there's risk involved, I think, on that side.
And to be honest with you, Adams may not play.
Yeah, so he's not going to play for Vegas. I'll say that.
No.
It's pretty obvious he's not playing there. And then and to your point, if they don't make a trade, which I think that they would, they kind of have to. But if they don't, you're right. Like he's probably not playing then because you
Yeah,
can't do this and then come back to the team. You can't.
that's right.
You can't do that and then have it be that way. So I actually agree with you on that. So we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, it's so funny because people can have different viewpoints on it and what's going to happen with it. But at the end of the day, trades happen, and it never seems to work out the way you think it's going to. So so good luck to both of you folks on this trade. Hopefully, it helps both teams out in the end. All right, we got to do our weekly Javante or Godwin. This week it was Javante week again. What I like to see is Godwin dropped about almost 2 full points on average points per game, whereas Javante gained a point and a half on average points per game. So starting to close that gap, Javante. Keep running. Keep running, okay? It's going to be a tough week against the Chargers, so I do know that. That's going to be tough. But this is how it's going so far.
Yeah.
Godwin, and here's what's happened. Godwin hasn't gotten touchdowns the past 2 weeks, so Godwin has done Godwin things, and which is why I made the choice in the first place. But he'll usually catch 5 or 6 passes. He'll get about 60 yards. It's kind of what Godwin's always done. Um, and he just happened to get touchdowns earlier in the year, and so we'll see if he's going to keep getting touchdowns this year at some point. He'd look better, so he's still number 6 in wide receiver, so you can't take that away from him. He's
No,
doing
no,
well,
you can't.
but good to see Javante starting to get more run there, and seems like they're starting to lean on him a little bit more in Denver.
You know what? I think I had him last year,
Yeah. Oh, that
and
was
he
not a
did
good
the
year.
same thing. You come later in the season, later in the season.
Which is what you would think with this knee injury that he had, and I'm hoping that that's the same thing. I'm hoping it's hey, he's coming along, he builds his speed. It's like Najee Harris, man. If you have Najee Harris, don't worry. He's kind of like a Derrick Henry, man. As the weather gets colder, he runs the same, and others don't want to take that impact on
Yeah.
from a Najee kind of guy. So yeah, he'll be and Javante, not a tall guy, but he's a built dude.
Yeah, yes.
He is a bowling ball. So let's go, Javante. Even Allison really rooting for Javante too. So she needs him to keep doing it. Comment of the week, Louis. I had it as yours. Did you talk some smack to your son at some point? You were basically telling him like, "Hey, what's going on with your team, man? You better give a little pep talk because I'm whooping you right now." That was my favorite comment.
Now
Oh,
somebody's got to keep him straight, Greg.
I know, I know. We'll see if that can continue this coming week. We'll talk about it. But
Well, he'd started on me earlier in the week about Stevenson fumbling.
oh yeah, was he messaging you directly?
Yeah, yeah. He wanted to know if he was going to hang on to the ball this week.
I wish I played him. I benched him in my other league, and I mean it didn't cost me. I won, but like Ramondre looked great.
Yeah.
He looked much better. Good on you to keep him going. What made you keep him going? So even after you heard he was getting benched, like what made you think, you know what, I'm still gonna play him?
He was due, really. He was due to have, well, he was due to hang on to the damn ball, is what he was due to do.
So you like what Gerard Mayo did, basically saying, hey, if you don't hold on the
Yeah,
ball, you ain't gonna hold on to your job.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, hey, you're a pro. This is how you make your money. You don't make it dropping the ball, you'll be sitting on the bench.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. So I'm hoping good things for Ramondre then because of that as well, because I have him in that other league I was talking about. So I'm hoping he's doing well. I don't love his matchup this week. I can't remember who he's playing, but it's a top 10 defense against the run. So I don't like him as much this week. So I'm putting Pollard in over him in that league, but I still like what I saw. And in that league, I kind of just rotate through my running backs based on matchup a lot of times because I picked running backs later in that one. So, but Ramondre's in my mix. Like I like him. He's a good player. I mean, to have that size with that catching ability to catch the ball is great. But did you have any other comments that you liked, or did you like my comment choice?
No, I did. I did. No, I think you're spot on.
Love it. All right. So now we're getting to right before we get into week 6, we got to find out where are we sitting. So, Sam and I still at the top. I mean, you guys got to come for us, Louis. Where are y'all at? Because you're not coming for Sam and I right now. We're still 5-0. Both of us, the previous champions of this league, are still at the top of this league. So bring it on, folks. But Louis, you jumped a spot. You jumped up above Zach. Zach took the L. You got the W as well as more points on the year so far. So therefore, you've jumped up in the standings to be number 2. And on the other side, Casey and Sam have kind of created some separation, man. Sam's 5-0, Casey's 4-1. The next team to them is Bob at 2-3. So they both have a little bit of a cushion there at the top of the West. So some things going on there. A little tough, but bottom's still looking fairly similar. We still got Tyler and Andy at the bottom of the West, and we still got Glenn and Allison at the bottom of the East. However, Glenn has won 2 games in a row now, so he has created some separation there. So right now, Allison is in the lead for loser, ultimate loser.
Ah, she'll come out of it.
I think so. She's focused, man. She's not even doesn't even have the lowest number of points. That goes to Glenn. So Glenn's at the bottom of points. But I'll tell you, Sam, I'm coming for you, man. I'm right behind you in points, so I'm coming for you. Louis, you still lead us in the number of moves made on the year, but Bob is quickly adding up his total along with Andy. So you three are the only ones in double digits. And I think ever since I made my comment, Kyle, about you and Kyle, because at one point it was you and Kyle at the top. Kyle's kind of slowed his roll there and has not picked up as many players. But for you, I feel like you pick up you've done it like at least once, if not twice, picked up a defense and then drop that defense for another defense later in the week.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out for me either.
Have you gone back to that? Have you looked at whether like the first defense you picked up would have been better? Is that what you're saying? You
Yes,
picked?
yes.
Yeah.
You know, I
It,
thought the Raiders and the Broncos would be a lot closer because they're usually like a 3-point game and low scoring,
yeah.
and the Broncos just took off. So
Yeah.
yeah, there went that.
I know, but I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Max Crosby sat as well, if I'm not mistaken. And he's the engine on that defense. So if he's not out there, that defense is really kind of a bottom end defense at that point. Good
So I
matchup
think the
for him,
one to
but
watch now is the Jets.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
going to go on there?
I know with Salah gone. Yeah, Salah has left, and or well, I should say he was sent. So
Escorted out.
yeah, and I do wonder kind of what happened there, and it's tough, and I hope Rodgers wasn't a part of that because I think I'm not a fan of Rodgers. I think he's just such a baby out there. He doesn't take responsibility for stuff, and I don't like when quarterbacks are that way. Um, because I also think like I think it was Matt Ryan was talking about it, and he was like, these guys need to get on Aaron Rodgers' page, and Aaron Rodgers basically needs to tell them like, y'all fuck whatever you all know right now, get on my page. And I kind of like, yeah, but you're new to this team. You've literally like you didn't play last year because you got hurt, and then you're coming to this new team and it's not going well. And like at some point you got to lead. I just feel like he's just not a leader. I just don't like him in that sense. But
No, I agree with you 100%.
yeah, he's just a douchebag. We're not Rodgers fans here. I'll
No.
say say that. All right, well let's check out these upcoming matchups. What do you say, Louis?
No.
All right, like father, like uncle. So, you laid the smack down and gave an ass whooping to Kyle, this past week, and now it's Andy's turn. So now Andy's got to kind of follow in your footsteps and see if he can do the same for Kyle. But Kyle's got to try to stop that. Um, Obviously, Andy's without a tight end right now, so he's going to be looking just like you are on the waiver wire for maybe somebody. But Kyle also doesn't have Justin Jefferson this week.
Right?
He's going to be missing that. Um, what's one thing you're taking from this matchup that's something to watch or that you're looking at to say
I
might be?
think I think Dak Prescott's going to have a big game.
Yeah,
And I think Derrick Henry will too.
agreed. Both defenses, they're going up against defenses that offer that
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm with you with Dak going against Detroit. Not a good pass. Like they're which is kind of interesting because they have a good, I would think, pass rush with like Hutchinson over there and stuff. He's a good pass rusher. So it's kind of been interesting that they don't do well. I guess in the pass game as far as defending it, but in Washington, bottom end defense. So I think you're right. I think those two players are going to separate. On the other side, I actually like the matchup that he has for Bijan in London. Going against Carolina, that's a team that should be giving up points. Carolina's going to give up points, and so he's got to rely on those two Atlanta weapons to make this thing happen for him. But we'll see, and we'll see what they do with their adjustments at tight end and wide receiver.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Bob. Allison needs a win. She just needs a W. I would also appreciate it. It would make the house just a much more welcoming place here. Okay. So Bob, help me out. That's what I'm saying. However,
I
the
like Allison's chances
all right. Why so, Louis?
because I think Brock's gonna he's gonna have to come out of it.
Against a defense he could do it against, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
So I like hearing that. So Purdy, maybe she may have to change her name back to Purdy Good. After that, so we'll see. Bob's side, he's got the projection is way high. However, it looks like Joe Mixon may not be playing, but he does get his Eagles players back. So he gets Saquon back and he gets Jalen Hurts back. So he's happy to have those guys back in his lineup as well. And maybe Evan Ingram. Maybe he'll actually finally play sometime. I don't know. We'll see. But good luck to you, Allison. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm sorry, Bob. I need to root for my wife here and get her a W.
Smart man.
Yeah, thank you. Well, this one I put slow your roll. So which one though? Because Casey has won 4 in a row. Glenn has won 2 in a row. All right. So they both at one time were over and they have not lost since they were at that moment. What's duh, Greg. So that's a weird thing to say. But they both are on a roll. Do you see anything here that you like, or maybe a matchup that you like that is a differentiator?
I think, I don't know. I think Baltimore's going to be a tough match for Daniels.
Yeah,
I do.
tough place to play. They're
I
going
think
to
so.
Baltimore, and
Yeah.
but you're not benching them. I mean, you
Oh,
can't.
heck no. I didn't. You can't. You can't.
No. And on Glenn's side, that Green Bay versus Arizona game, important game for him. He has Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, and Marvin Harrison, which
Yes.
basically means that he like almost shoot, that means almost half, 3 of his 8 players are in that game. So that's going to be a really important game for Glenn. So he's hoping that's a really high scoring affair.
Exactly.
So I think he'll be, and he's a Green Bay fan, right? So he's the Packer fan in this league. So he'll be rooting hardcore for Kraft and Reed. And to me, he has the 2 players I want from that team right now. I want those 2 players on that offense. I could take a Josh Jacobs or somebody too, but the receiving wise, I want Kraft and I want Reed. So Glenn's got some good guys there, and though they're high in the so far position rank. Look, Kraft is 3rd at tight end on the year, and Jaden Reed is 3rd at wide receiver on the year. So got
It
a
should
couple
be
good
good.
weapons there. Yep, this will be a nice matchup. It'll be a lot closer than what the projections say. All right, next up we have EJ versus Zach, and EJ literally does need a quarterback. He does not have another one on his team, so he will have to figure out how is he going to replace Mahomes.
I
The
saw that.
the good part though is Mahomes really hasn't been good anyway, so it doesn't matter. Because if you look at Mahomes, he is position ranked 15th. There's only 12 teams that play in our league, which means that technically he would should not start for one of our 12 teams. However, his name is Patrick Mahomes. He is potentially the could be the greatest quarterback of all time. I love the man as far as how he plays. He's great, but for fantasy, he's not as great because their
No.
defense is great. So, and he doesn't have the weapons. So this could be a saving grace for EJ right now. So maybe he's gonna go with the red rifle. Maybe he's gonna go with Daniel Jones. We don't know, but he's got to figure that out. What say you in regards to this matchup and
No.
things
I
shaping
don't.
up?
I think Zach's got it.
Yeah,
I think Josh Allen and well,
I'm gonna throw
Zach's
this
got
out.
a good team.
Yeah, he does. But I'm gonna throw this out to you, Louis. Unfortunately, Allen and Cook are going against his defense. So he has the Jets defense that they're playing against. Not saying it can't work out on all sides. It's
Well,
just the likelihood of that working out is very difficult. And
yeah.
I'll say this, you're not gonna bench Josh Allen or James Cook, but I might look at not playing Jets defense. I only say that because I don't want my defense to go against like my top 2 players. And now that's where like I feel like upside is capped, and you know that if your defense is going to go for double digits, that means that those 2 players probably didn't do so well. And do you want both those things like that to happen, or vice versa? If
Yeah.
those 2 players do well, that means that Jets defense did not do so well, and they probably maybe gave up some points because it's just a really tough thing. Because when I look at a fantasy defense, I want a defense that creates turnovers more than anything. I don't care as much about the score that you stop. The turnovers are worth more than anything. And so if I'm expecting them to turn the ball over, that means Josh Allen turned the ball over. That means he threw an interception or 2. And that means he didn't perform probably as well as he could have. Not saying it can't happen. It's just that's a tough one right there. So
I agree
uh,
with you. I think I would cut the Jet defense and pick up somebody else.
Yeah. And maybe you keep them, but you have to cut somebody else to grab a defense because you're right. The Jets defense, man, that's the number 6 defense in our league right now. You're not just going to drop them, but you might think about picking up somebody
But look at
else.
the turmoil. Oh,
Oh, that's true. That's true. I don't, and we'll have to see how that plays out. So I would say, and that's a good point. I would say maybe you look at, I would probably keep him and then see how it goes this week, but I wouldn't play him because that's a good
yeah.
point. Salah's gone. He was a defensive minded coach. Sometimes there's a rallying cry for that, but it didn't seem like he had lost. I mean, they're 2-3 as a team, so it's a very weird situation. It's not like they're like 0-5. They're 2-3. Like they're not out of the playoff hunt. They're in their division. I mean, it's the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Bills. The Bills, I think, are even like 3-2, maybe. Jets are 2-3. The Dolphins are like 2-3, maybe three. Like it's all right there. So I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very weird thing to have happened. I'll just say that. But, anyways, that'll the Buffalo Jets game will be an interesting one to watch for
I think
Hims.
so. Yeah.
All right. Next up, and I checked this before like right when we hopped on to see if I could change it, but Sam still hadn't updated his stuff. So his legit projection, if I put in other players on his team, is about 110. So you're about even on projection there. So it's tough to see when you're going back and forth what you're looking at. But what you're playing him, so what's something that you're worried about, like when you think about the matchup?
I'm worried about Lamar Jackson, to be honest with you.
Yeah, against Washington.
I think against himself.
Okay.
That kind of scares me just a little bit.
He is a boom bust player in that. I mean, he'll do what he just did for you, get you 43. But then last year I had him, I traded for him, and he had multiple weeks where he got me like 15. It felt like it was either 15 or 30 plus. It's kind of how it felt with Lamar.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know. I think one of the happiest picks I got was that T. Higgins for Cincinnati and kind of hang on to him until he got a play.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah,
So
but Sam's got a good team, man.
he does. But to highlight it, Burrow had that great game. He's coming out of that. Um, I think Sam is thankful that Miami's on a bye because then you feel like you don't have to force Tyreek Hill into your lineup. You don't have to force some of these players into your lineup. So he might be like, okay, good. I can just play my team how I might want to play it. But
Yeah.
because you have Higgins, he has Burrow, you got some crossover there that might help you a little bit to offset if Burrow has a big game. All right. Our last one is me versus Tyler. This is one where I'm going to change my defense. I don't want the Seahawks against San Francisco. I just don't want it. That's a tough offense to play against. But the only other thing I'll note here is it is tough to know that Nico's going to be out longer. I knew he had a hamstring, and I knew the soft tissue that's going to take a little bit of time. But he's got C.J. Stroud. This would be the perfect week to be able to have CJ Stroud's top option. I have him, and therefore I kind of cap some of CJ Stroud's upside, but not going to happen this week, and so I got to roll with how I got to roll. What's something that you're seeing that you like, or maybe is a con for one of us?
You know what? I think Stroud is due. Look what
Yeah,
he did last year, and yeah, he's due to put up one of them big games.
he hadn't had a huge game yet, so
And
I
I
like
guess
it.
when I played you, you had Gibbs and I had Montgomery,
Yep.
and Gibbs outdid him, but it was close. Gibbs is a good player, man, and I think he can go for a lot against the Dallas defense.
Yeah, they're not doing well against the run this year right now,
No.
so they're not doing as well for that. I put the Cincy backfield to decide the victory. I'm not quite sure that is the case, but it's just interesting. You mentioned you and I's battle of Montgomery versus Gibbs, and now I have Chase Brown. He has Zach Moss. We'll see if Moss plays with that ankle injury. I don't know. If he doesn't, then I'm feeling good about Chase Brown even more. But I still like Chase Brown. I have to play him. I don't have really another option. But one thing that does worry me is if Nico is out, which he is, he has Stephon Diggs. So that just means Diggs gets more throws from CJ Stroud. He'll double up a little bit more. And that has me a little bit worried. So while it might seem like a big difference here as far as like our win and loss record, this is going to be a close matchup, and I'm a little bit worried about it. I'll just be honest. So Tyler, good luck. I hope you lose. Okay, that's what we're saying. But Louis, that wraps up this recap this week. Any parting words that you have for your family and your friends in the FFFL?
Oh, you know what? I have a lot of fun doing this, and I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and start going through it.
Love it.
And what the hell am I doing up at that hour?
Well, you're getting ready for work.
Now I got to find a tight end.
Oh yeah, exactly. You are, yeah. Hey, Colleen, did you hear that? He's got to find a tight end at 2 in the morning, is what he said.
Yeah, well, she yells at me for it too.
I say, aren't we all looking for a tight end at 2 in the morning? Uh, but but yes, you'll be looking for that. And for everybody else out there, hey, make sure you go visit the FFFLGA sites. Make sure you hit them straight. We got good instructors out there, so support our sponsors. We appreciate that. And good luck to everybody this week. I want everybody to win except for Tyler. I mean, that's how I feel, and so just wish you all the best. And good to have Zach back. So Zach, I'm glad you're safe and weren't harmed
Yes.
in your accident, man. It's a much different vibe when you're back. So we appreciate you having you back on the chat and getting us all going. So much love to everybody.
Thank you,
Enjoy.
brother.
Thank you for being on, Louie. I appreciate it, and I always enjoy having you on, man. Good seeing your face. Good
Oh,
seeing your
you too,
smile,
man.
man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're gonna. I guess I should probably like hop out of this friggin' screen share and all that stuff, and say goodbye in the real way. But peace out. Much love. Good luck, and get those waivers in. All right. All right, Louie, get your waivers in.
Sorry for being late, man.
Oh, you're good.
Next time I'll have it all together.
Sounds good, man. Hey, but nice job getting this done in less time than we've done in the past. I like this new format.
All right, brother. Thank you so
All
much.
right, all right. Much
All
love.
right.
Bye now.